Are you lying awake at night, staring at that ceiling, wondering how you're going to make ends meet? Does the weight of financial worry feel heavier than your faith? What if I told you there's a path to true peace, a way to release that burden and find purpose in your finances, all by trusting in God's plan? Stay tuned to Ask Ralph today because we're tackling this vital question, and it might just change everything for you.
In a world where crushing debt keeps you trapped, where living paycheck to paycheck has become your new normal, and where the dream of retirement seems impossibly out of reach, there's hope. Join financial evangelist Ralph Estep Jr., a man who's walked through the fire of financial failure and emerged stronger on the other side. Welcome to Ask Ralph, the show where real-world experience meets biblical truth to break the bondage of financial despair. Get ready to take control of your money, break free from the financial stress, and align your resources with God's purpose for your life. This is Ask Ralph with Ralph Estep Jr.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Ask Ralph. I'm your host, Ralph Estep Jr., the financial evangelist, and this is the show where we tackle your questions and help you break free from that cycle of financial shame with confidence. Today, we're discussing a topic that touches so many of us, even those who walk in faith. The question today is, are you struggling to trust God with your finances? And more importantly, how can I find peace and purpose in His plan? Think about it. In today's world, with all the economic ups and downs, it's so easy to feel anxious about money. But what if I told you that finding true peace in your finances starts with a deeper trust in God? See, it's not just about having more money. It's about having a different perspective. Sounds intriguing, doesn't it? Maybe you've been looking at your financial shame from the wrong perspective. Got a listener question from Glenda. She reached out with the question that really hits the heart of this. She asked this. She said, Ralph, I believe God owns everything. But when the bills are piling up and I don't know how I'll make ends meet, how do I truly trust that He'll provide? Well, Glenda, we're going to dig into that and more on today's show. So let's lay the groundwork. The absolute foundation of trusting God with your finances is understanding this one powerful truth. God owns it all. Let me say that again because it's foundational. God owns it all. The Bible is crystal clear on this. Psalm 24:1 says, the earth is the Lord's and everything in it. Just think about that for a moment. You're not the ultimate owner of your money or your house or anything else that you have for that matter. You're a manager. You're a steward of what God has entrusted to you. So now you're likely asking, Ralph, why is this so important? Why do I need to start here? Because when you realize it's all His, it shifts your perspective. You move from a place of scarcity and worry to a place of responsibility and trust in His provision. See, it's sort of like managing someone else's valuable assets. You want to be careful and wise with them, don't you? When you're taking care of someone else's stuff, aren't you more careful? Don't you want to protect it more? Your finances work the same way. You're protecting God's stuff, so don't you want to protect it? So as we get started here, an actionable takeaway for you, I want you to start this. I want you to take some time today to really meditate on the idea that God owns everything you have. Write it down. Say it out loud. Let that truth sink into your heart. It's the first step towards releasing financial anxiety. You've got to accept that foundation first before we can even move to finding peace in your finances. It's that critical first step. Now, trusting God with your finances isn't just a passive thing. It involves taking practical steps deeply rooted in faith. So here are a couple of actions you've got to take. First, you've got to make prayer a priority in your financial life. Just like you pray about your family and your health, bring your financial concerns before God. Ask for His guidance in your spending. Ask for His guidance in your savings, and ask for His guidance in your giving. The book of Psalms, chapter 25, verses 4 and 5 encourage us to seek His ways and ask for His guidance. So that's the first step. You got to make prayer a priority. I'm talking about specific prayer over your finances. And once you do that, second thing, embrace the principle of tithing and generous giving. The Bible teaches us to give a portion of our income back to God as an act of worship and acknowledgement of his ownership. This is the action step that trip up so many of us. This is where we have to put our money where our mouth is. Or maybe more accurately, put our money where our faith is. The book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 10, talks about bringing the whole tithe and testing God's blessing. And then move beyond the tithe. Look for opportunities to give generously and cheerfully to others. Remember, 2 Corinthians 9:7 says, God loves a cheerful giver. You've got to embrace this giving and be cheerful in it. And I'll talk about that, how to do that in another show coming soon. But understand, these aren't just rules. They're acts of faith that demonstrate your trust in God's provision. Let me say that again. These aren't just rules. They're acts of faith that demonstrate your trust in God's provision. So first was prayer, then generous giving. Now we move to the mindset change and my encouragement for today. Listen, I know it's not always easy. We all face financial anxieties, that fear of not having enough, the worry about the future, and that pressure to keep up with others. Those things are real. And let me just tell you, your income level really doesn't matter. We all face this. But here's the encouragement. God has a plan for your life, including your finances. Hear me on that. God has a plan for your life. The book of Jeremiah, chapter 29, verse 11, reminds us of his plans to prosper us and give us hope. Take a moment now to just think about the countless stories of people who have faced financial hardship and seen God's faithfulness in amazing ways. See, because it's not about the size of your bank account. It's about the size of your trust in him. That's worth repeating. So let me say that again. It's not about the size of your bank account. It's about the size of your trust in him. So when you're feeling that financial anxiety creeping in, take a moment to shift your mindset. I'm telling you, this is crucial. Instead of focusing on the what ifs, try focusing on the even ifs. Even if things get tough, even if you face unexpected challenges, I will trust that God will be there for me. You got to make that your daily mantra, even if the car breaks down, even if I lose my job, even if I'm running on financial fumes, I will trust God because I know he is always there for me. Isn't that powerful? Doesn't that change your entire mindset and give you hope? I know it does for me. Well, let's get back to Glenda's question. Remember what she said? She said, Ralph, I believe God owns everything. But when bills are piling up and I don't know how I'll make ends meet, how do I truly trust that he'll provide? And Glenda, that's a very real feeling, and you're not alone in this. Guess what? We all feel that way at times. I've felt that more times than I can even count. It's that central question of the deepness of our faith. See, the key is to actively surrender those worries to God through prayer. Cast your cares on him because he cares for you. And remember, trusting God doesn't mean you sit back and do nothing. Hey, this is a popular misconception. It's that mentality, well, the Lord will provide, and hear me on this. But you've got to be part of the solution. You've got to be part of the work. It means you continue to be good stewards of what you have. Maybe you seek wise counsel if you need it, and you act in faith, believing that God will provide for your needs. Maybe not always in the way you expect, but he will provide. See, I think that's part of the problem for many of us. We expect God to provide for us based on our expectations. But God laughs at our expectations. He provides what we need, not always what we want. And that can be a real tough pill to swallow. But if you want to find peace, I'm talking about true peace, real peace, lasting peace, a peace that surpasses all understanding. You've got to start seeing what God has provided for you already. It's called contentment. Again, that's not an easy thing to embrace, but it's vital to find lasting peace, especially with your finances. And we're going to talk about contentment in another episode coming up soon. So let's recap what we talked about today. Today, we talked about the importance of trusting God with your finances by understanding his ownership. We talked about taking practical steps of faith like prayer and giving and shifting your mindset from fear to trust in his plan. And I want to encourage you, take one step further in trusting God with your finances. Maybe it's committing to tithing. Maybe it's setting aside time each day to pray about your financial situation, or maybe it's simply acknowledging God's ownership in a tangible way. Now, looking ahead to tomorrow's episode, we're going to tackle another common financial struggle, and this one is a challenge. We're going to answer the question why living paycheck to paycheck feels so hard to escape. We're going to explore the root causes and the emotional toll it takes, so you don't want to miss that. So make sure you tune in tomorrow. And I just want to thank you so much for tuning in to Ask Ralph today. If you want to stay connected and get more encouraging content, be sure to subscribe to our newsletter. You do that by going to askralphpodcast.com/newsletter. And remember this, you are not alone in this journey. With God's guidance and practical steps, you can escape the cycle of financial shame, and you can do it with confidence. So until next time, stay financially savvy, and may God bless you richly.
Thank you for joining us on the Ask Ralph Show. And with a simple click to subscribe, we'll invite you back to our next episode. And remember, financial issues don't have to be complicated. Just ask Ralph. The information contained in this episode of Ask Ralph is based on data available as of the date of its release. Saggio Accounting Plus and Ask Ralph Media, Inc. is under no obligation to update this content if changes occur. Applying this information to your specific situation requires careful consideration of all facts and circumstances, and any information provided is not to be considered as financial, tax, or legal advice. Please consult your tax advisor or attorney before acting on any material covered.